Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be digging into some pretty fascinating data about everyday life. You know, those little things that make us, well, us.
It's amazing what you can find when you really start looking at the numbers.
Absolutely. And we've got a bunch of interesting stats and trends to unpack today, so let's get right to it.
Sounds good.
All right. You know how everyone jokes about those stressful family visits?
Right.
Well, it turns out for people over 30, it's actually the second biggest stressor, right behind work.
Wow. It's interesting to think about why that might be.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, families today they're a lot different than they used to be. You've got blended families, people living far apart, maybe different generations, not always seeing eye to eye.
Ah, that makes sense.
And then there's the whole pressure to, present this perfect picture, especially with social media and everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everyone's trying to, outdo each other with their perfect holiday photos and happy family posts.
It's a lot to live up to.
Definitely adds to the stress. Okay, moving on to something a little lighter. This one actually made me laugh.
Okay.
Did you know that apparently Americans eat 30% more nachos when they've been drinking?
30%? That's a lot of nachos.
I know, right? I'm not sure I buy the whole, lowered inhibitions explanation, though. What do you think?
I mean, maybe it plays a role, but maybe it's also the social aspect of it. Nachos are often seen as a party food, something you share with friends.
That's true. Or maybe it's just really good marketing.
Could be. All right, now let's talk about travel. One of the stats we found said that 30% of people say their biggest pet peeve on a flight is, you guessed it, a smelly passenger.
Yeah, no surprises there.
And then get this, 25% of people would actually pay someone to assemble IKEA furniture for them.
I can actually understand that one.
I think it says a lot about modern anxieties. We want comfort and control, especially when we're traveling or facing a mountain of flat pack furniture.
Absolutely. And then we have this stat. This is pretty funny. 16% of people admit to escaping to their car just for some peace and quiet.
Oh, I've definitely done that before.
Haven't we all? We all need a break sometimes, especially from those stressful family visits we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of things that people do, for a laugh or whatever, apparently 39% of men actually enjoy hearing their wives belch.
Really? That's interesting. It makes you think about why we find certain things funny, like breaking social norms. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe it's like a release valve or something.
Could be.
But okay, let's get a little more serious for a second. One stat we found that I thought was kind of concerning was that 1 in 5 people can't name a single author.
That is a little worrying.
It is, isn't it?
It makes you wonder if maybe the rise of things like audiobooks and podcasts is changing our relationship with reading. Are we losing something by moving away from traditional books?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll admit I've been listening to a lot more audiobooks myself lately.
Me too, actually.
And speaking of trends, this one is kind of interesting. Women apparently take 45% longer to order from a menu than men.
Wow, 45%.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we're just, more thoughtful about our choices.
Yeah, that's possible. Or maybe it has to do with different decision-making styles.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about work. One stat that I found pretty concerning was that 41% of managers have actually fired someone for being late.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know, right? And then on top of that, the average person has 3 unpaid bills at any given time.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear sign of the financial stress that a lot of people are facing these days.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that, it's not always as simple as just being on time or managing your money better. There are bigger issues at play here, systemic issues.
Yep.
All right. To wrap things up on a slightly more heartwarming note, here's a stat that really highlights the bond between people and their pets. 51% of pet owners haven't traveled abroad since getting a pet.
Wow, that's over half.
It is. Yeah, I guess it shows that, pets have really become part of the family and people are prioritizing their well-being even when it comes to making travel plans.
Definitely. And with the rise of, pet parenting and all these pet care services, it's easier than ever to make sure your furry friend is taken care of even when you're away.
For sure. Well, I think that about covers it for today's deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, from nacho cravings to family dynamics. It's been quite a journey.
And I think the takeaway here is that, even in these seemingly small details, these everyday quirks, we can find a reflection of who we are, what we value, what stresses us out.
Absolutely.
It's all connected.
So next time you're, stuck in traffic or struggling to assemble that IKEA bookshelf, take a moment to think about the bigger picture. You might be surprised by what these everyday experiences reveal about us, about ourselves, and about society as a whole.
You never know what you might discover.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.